else.
We are live.
We are live. I don't know why I'm singing. Hey, everybody.
You're in like very summery mode. Sorry.
You know
Go
what?
ahead.
Hold on.
We are live.
Done.
Yeah.
Woo! I am summery mode because it's like 80 something here. So this morning I got up. Hey, first of all, hi, everybody. Welcome to the Proverbial Masterminds.
Hi, everyone.
Here's Dr. Sherry. Okay, so today in Maryland, I live on the Chesapeake Bay. I'm on the western shore of the Chesapeake Bay, not the eastern shore, just so you know. So my husband's like opening doors and windows at 7 a.m. And I'm thinking, I know it's going to be warm today, but already? And it is. So I'm very sunny today.
Yeah, it's like low 70s here, but the winds, it's like we've got gale force winds outside.
Yes.
So like I'm seeing styrofoam cups fly by. Right. Don't know where they came from. Patio furniture's on the other side of the lawn, you know.
Yes. Okay. So everyone, if you're new here, just a reminder. So we're the Proverbial Masterminds. We are just, daughters of the King, minding the Master's wisdom. And we're walking through the book of Proverbs, one verse a day. We're now up to chapter 6 of Proverbs. Woo!
We're doing it slow and steady wins a race.
We got out of the adultery section.
Oh, we're about to go back in there, though.
We're going back. So anyway, this week we started chapter 6.
Yeah.
And so this week we're talking about really think before you speak, which I don't know about you, Sherry, but that is my issue sometimes.
I have it mastered.
I'm so
just teasing. I don't have it mastered.
One of those moments where you say something and you're like, did I just say that out loud? So
yeah. That's like that time. I might have even mentioned it on the show. That time I did a video on wisdom, like on my personal page on Facebook, and I said something, and then at the end, when I got done with it, I was like, "Oh, I don't think that was something I should have said." So I just deleted the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like think before you speak. Yeah, I don't have that mastered. I mean, I think you can get better and stronger at it, but the fact is that we're still human.
Sure, of course. Yes.
But before we dive into that, I want to set us up here a little bit.
Do it.
Just for like the big picture of Proverbs. So so we just finished chapter 5 and we're on to chapter 6. And just to kind of give you a little big picture flow of Proverbs so far, the first 4.5 chapters, the first 4 chapters were really 3.5 chapters. We're really all about wisdom, what it is, why you need to get it, how you keep it in front of you, right? Like just laying the foundation, literally, for wisdom. Now we're getting into the last, couple of these aren't sessions. What are they? The last couple of shows, we got into about adultery, right? Yeah. Well, now it's going into, we're going to talk today about kind of making commitments before you think about making them, right? So thinking before you speak. Okay. So what's happening now is we're shifting from what is wisdom, how do you get it, how do you keep getting it, how do you secure it, how do you make sure that it's you're putting it in front of you and you're keeping it, to how do you apply it. So now, good, keep it. We're going to keep reminding, but now it's the application piece. So we've talked extensively about adultery, right? And back in chapter 3, we got a little taste of this when it talked about kind of how we are to treat our neighbors and how we're to love our neighbors. So there was a little taste of application, but now that's really where this is going. So we're going to see more and more examples, practical examples of how we apply wisdom in our lives. And so I want to kind of tackle 2 different things today, if that's all right with you, Erin. One is finishing up chapter 5. And that's kind of a separate section. And then the second is this beginning part of chapter 6, which is really about thinking before you speak. But I was pondering the last two verses, or the last three verses really of chapter 5. So chapter 5 had talked a lot about adultery and going to the seductress, and we kind of applied that to our lives as like, are there times and places where we can cheat on God and
Yeah.
go a different,
Yeah.
what's that?
And like being unfaithful
Yeah.
in that. Yeah.
Yeah. So those last three verses of chapter 5, I'm just going to read them real quick. This is 21 through 23 of chapter 5. For the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his paths. His own iniquities entrap the wicked man, and he is caught in the cords of his sin. He shall die for lack of instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. And so I when I was just thinking about that and the significance of that, like if we are seeking wisdom, that's not going to happen to us.
Yes.
This is talking about somebody who's not seeking wisdom, who's doesn't care to be instructed. He's already decided, he's already made this moral decision to do what he wants to do. Now, we do that sometimes in our lives, but that's not the driving compass. Correct. If we are God's children who are seeking after his own heart. Yes, our flesh is still going to rise up on occasion, right? But lots of occasions in my case. But thank God he doesn't look at the external things that happen, the external mistakes, that the things that people see. He looks at our motivations, he looks at our heart. And so I wanted to reassure somebody who might be watching that, the Lord is watching you. He's watching the wicked and the righteous. He watches everybody. Like he's that amazing. He's that powerful, right? He can watch everyone. And he watches you and he keeps you. You can go back through the first 4 books of Proverbs to talk about how much he's not going to let you fall when you're seeking after him, right? But this person that the scripture is talking about is somebody who clearly has made a conscious choice to avoid anything to do with God's wisdom. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes. I think that's an important clarification, because I think we also, who are followers of Christ, like we can be really hard on ourselves too. Yes. We can only see God as the disciplinarian. And so I think that's a really important clarification. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. You bet. I have a sensitivity to so this is really fascinating, and I won't go into it into detail here, but I got the theme for my next book, which is not the book I was expecting to write. So, and there's that. So I won't share my working title because that's proprietary to me.
That's what he does.
But it has to do with shame. And so I've mentioned a couple of times on the show how shame has been one of my greatest enemies. Certainly everybody feels shame. Every human soul feels shame. But for me, it's been kind of this constant nagging, like just attachment for my whole life. And so because of that, as I've read the scriptures, a lot of times that the enemy uses that shame to see that's talking about you. And so I have a really powerful sensitivity to that because I know that's not true. Yeah. And so I know that if I have felt that way in my life, then somebody else has felt that way. And so that's why it was important to me to make that clarification.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love.
So why don't you lead us into chapter 6, Erin?
Yeah. So I'm just going to read from 6:1 to 6:8 or 6:7. All right. So I'm reading from the English Standard Version. If you've been following us, or maybe you haven't, I really like to look at different versions because it just gives me like an additional sense of clarity. So this morning I'm reading, or today, not this morning, I'm reading from the English Standard Version. And the beginning of 6 is entitled Practical Warnings.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Hey, Erin, before you start, I only read through, I thought today's verse was 6:5. Am I behind?
I think we had a couple left over from chapter 5, didn't we?
Yeah.
So
just read to 6:5.
Okay. So here we go. Practical warnings. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, have given your pledge for a stranger, if you are snared in the words of your mouth, caught in the words of your mouth, then do this, my son, and save yourself. For you have come into the hand of your neighbor. Go hasten, and this says, or humble yourself, and plead urgently with your neighbor. Give your eyes no sleep, give your eyelids no slumber. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter,
Hmm.
like a bird from the hand of the fowler.
So basically, if we're so this is saying if we stake what we have on somebody else's debt.
Mm,
Okay, so the New King James Version talks about being surety. So there's nothing wrong with that, right? But be careful with that, because, and this is talking about friend too. This is not talking about family. I want to be clear about that, because we know parents will do anything for their kids, including co-sign on stuff, right? Like, because that's what parents do.
right.
Because they want them to, but this is talking about friends, right? And so, this is not rocket science.
No.
Money interferes with romantic relationships, friendships, businesses. Money is not the root of all evil, by the way, but our attitude towards money,
Correct.
right, is what can be the evil thing. But so this is saying it's not to not lend money to people. That's good. It's good to do that. But it's not good to offer everything that you have, lay it on the line for somebody else without thinking about it. Don't be like, oh yeah, man, I got you. Yeah, sure. That's good. Because you put yourself at risk. Otherwise, and this doesn't really talk about it here, but otherwise you should be prepared instead of resting. Basically, this is saying if you can help somebody, help them, but make it charity.
Right.
Don't make it dependent where you will now have a debt greater than that which you can bear.
Right.
Okay. So we do what we can with what we have, right? And sometimes people believe like, well, I'm just supposed to give everything, all the time. And you look at stories like the widow's mite, like she gave everything. But she was very thoughtful about to whom she was giving everything.
Yes.
Right? And so I think about the woman and the oil and the prophet Elijah and all of that. Like she was about to die, and Elisha was a stranger.
Right.
Right? But God gave her a very clear message.
Yes.
To do that. And then because she was obedient to God, because it was a message from God and not from her own mind, her own lack of wisdom, her following her own thinking and thinking what's right, then God gave her a bountiful supply to live off of and enabled her to go pay her debts. Right.
Right.
So I think to me, what this is saying is it's not about, if you're going to lend to a friend, it would be better for you to just give it. And not expect anything in return.
Yeah. And going back to what you were saying earlier about this, in the Passion Translation, it calls it an acquaintance. In the Amplified Translation, it also says, if you have given your pledge for the debt of a stranger or another, and then it says outside your family. Like
it clarifies that.
You were saying that. It was clarifying that further. So in other words, it's this expectation that we're going to help care for our family, right? But it's this, and I love the different ways that it puts it. In the Passion, it says, if you co-sign a loan for an acquaintance and guarantee his debt, you'll be sorry you ever did it. And you're trapped, right? It literally says you're trapped, which is what it's saying about, in verse 5 that we were just reading, like you're actually snared. You're
Yes.
trapped, like the hunter and his prey.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many ways that we could take this that I don't know are necessarily in context, but how we can get sort of sucked into, being a good Christian who cares for people, who gives, who knows that they're supposed to give. Not that we could be swindled. I don't mean it like that, which when I say the word swindle, it makes me think of the magician in Frosty the Snowman, where he's like,
Not familiar.
he was tricky. That's what it says. But my point is not that we could be swindled, but that we just have to be conscious of how we're helping and the way that we're helping, and not, like you said, like not giving more than we can bear in taking care of ourselves.
Yeah. And is it helping?
And is it helping, or is it enabling?
Yes. Yeah. So all of that, all of those questions, is it helping? Is it enabling? Is it something I can afford? Am I prepared to make this a gift and not a debt? That you can't just agree to something. You can, but in wisdom, in God's wisdom, he's saying, slow down, take a step back, think before you do that. In fact, maybe don't do that at all. Right. If you have to borrow to give, never do it.
Right.
That's a snare to you. You're going to be the hunted. You're the prey then.
Yes.
Also, I think when I was looking at this, I think of it in reverse. Be very careful who you look to borrow money from. Like, do I need this? Am I prepared to, I think about this all the time with like, just very basic, like free trial stuff. Let me borrow this program from you today and I'll pay you 1 week from today or 1 month from today. And then I forget, and then I get hit with these charges, and then they can't be undone. Right. So just really thinking slow about those types of things, especially when it comes to money. I mean, going to family is even hard, but sometimes we look at these too good to be true things like, interest free, or here, interest free for 6 months. And then it's like 35% interest or something like that. And you're not prepared for that. Or like the ARMs on a mortgage.
Yep.
That was the downfall of a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Right. Because, I can afford this house. It's only $1,000 a month, but in 3 years, it's going to be $3,000 a month.
Right.
And I'm not going to be able to, but a lot of times we set aside our logic for what we think we need right now. And so I think this is just really beautiful application of wisdom to slow down and consider.
Yeah. It's reminding me a lot of a couple of things. So April is Financial Literacy Month. And on my podcast, I'm covering that. I have a guest interview of someone who does financial coaching. And then I'm telling a bit of our story of our financial crisis. And one of the things that I was looking at as I was preparing some of the scripture that Dave Ramsey uses in his Financial Peace University. And he was saying that our challenge is that we sacrifice the future for the present. We need to have it now.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is we're not thinking before we make that decision, right? We're just like, no, I want it today. And so I'm going to do whatever to get it today, right?
Yeah. What does he say? Live like nobody else today so you can live like nobody else
tomorrow. Right.
Yeah.
The other thing that it reminds me of, and this happens in our house. So my husband is the thinker and I'm the decision maker. So I can make a decision really fast.
You're the executor.
I'm the executor. Yeah. He would probably agree with that. However, I don't know that those of us who are implementers, maybe that's a better way to say it, that we really always value the thinkers in our life. What frustrates me about that is that it takes him so long to make a decision. And some of these are like what I would say are Snicker bar decisions versus mortgage decisions, right? And so they have different amounts of thought that are required, but I feel like everything for him is a mortgage decision. But I don't know that we always, as we're talking today about thinking before we speak, do we look at those who are the observers or those who are very thoughtful? Are those of us who move faster like, oh my God, would you just come on and make the decision? And then therefore they make better, at times they do make better decisions. At other times, yes, like how he moves causes us to miss out on, certain. So it's just that balance, which we talked about before. Like the balance is really not everything's balanced at once. Like, I mean, it's,
yeah. Well, it's, God gifted us with different thinking styles, thinking and doing styles for a reason, because they're all necessary.
All of them.
I mean, this is interesting, Erin. Maybe we should invite a couple of other guests onto the show because both of us are like high Ds. When I say high Ds, I'm talking like disc stuff. Right?
Yeah. True.
And that I do stuff like I don't want to make a decision. This is not hard. Make a decision. Just and I get so frustrated.
I do too.
Right. But I've made a lot of poor decisions. Well, I've made a lot of decisions that have made my life harder than it needed to be. Right. Because I didn't slow down. I didn't stop and think or consult someone like my mom who would say, now here's what you need to think about. And I'd be like, oh, here's what I need to think about. Here we go again,
Right.
No, I'm done thinking. That's right.
Done thinking. Let's just
I just want to do. But that's why we're all necessary because when it so maybe you're in the middle of making a decision right now and you feel like I don't know, you feel like maybe you need to slow down. Maybe consult somebody else in your life who has the gift of slowed decision making. It is a gift. It's not a liability.
I love that. And I think sometimes we don't do that because we think the person won't agree with us. Right?
Well, hey, couldn't that be the reason for like going to the Lord and asking him, hey, what should I do? Sometimes we don't because we know.
Right.
His answer won't agree with us.
Right. Yeah. And we already know that. Mm-hmm. And by the way, he already knows what we're thinking. I mean, let's just,
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love how it says, give no sleep to your eyes, nor slumber to your eyelids. Like if you feel something wrong about, if you feel something is wrong about a financial decision that you've made, don't let the sun go down on it. Figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of Elton John for you.
And it will say, don't let the sun. And it says, rescue yourself in the Passion Translation, rescue yourself from future pain.
Yeah.
Give it once and for all. You will, the last line of this in verse 5 in the Passion Translation says, you will be so relieved.
Ooh, that's good.
Yes.
And I think that's just one more layer of, you see, when we look at God's wisdom and we think, well, I know this person, they wouldn't, do this to me, or it'll be fine or whatever. If we're using our wisdom, we're going to fail. We're going to get caught in a trap somewhere. Yes. And we're going to be white knuckling it going, oh, did I make the right decision? Oh, did I make the right decision? Oh, I got to hang on. That's anxiety.
Yes.
Anxiety is literally killing people because it causes tons of issues medically, physically, from blood pressure to heart issues to whatever. I mean, anxiety is a killer. And this is saying the reason I want you to slow down, stop and think, consider my ways, consider what I'm offering to you here.
Yes.
It's because it's going to save you a lot of grief.
Oh my
it's going to save you a lot of anxiety.
And he did not create us. God is not a God of chaos. He did not
Yeah.
create us for that chaotic thinking and worldly view and
Yeah.
life. We know that that's part of being in a fallen world. We know
Mhm.
that that's the human condition. And
Mhm.
yet, and so I want to come back to this point, that the Bible is not a historical text. I mean, yes, there is history, but it is so relevant for today,
Yeah.
especially in a chaotic world.
Mhm.
Like, this wisdom is here. And that's why we started this,
Yeah.
because we wanted to seek wisdom,
Mhm.
even in the times that it would, kind of slap us in our face and wake up. And like I don't know why I have all these movies in my head today, but like in Moonstruck, where Cher is like, snap out of it to Nicolas Cage. But that's kind of what the Bible does for us sometimes, is it wakes us up to say,
Yeah.
this wisdom is right here for the taking.
Yeah. And, going verse by verse, I mean, it'd be easy to just gloss over that section, to read all of chapter 6 in a
Oh,
day and gloss over that and not really get the weight of the practical implications of this passage for us. So, yeah, whatever you're dealing with today, slow down, stop and think. This is a timely message for
oh,
me, for you, for whoever's listening. It's a timely message for us, and it's an opportunity to apply it in the week ahead. As we move forward, just daily thinking. Is there a decision I'm making, particularly about finances, that I need to slow down on?
yep. Love that.
That's all we got for you today, my friends.
I hope that was good. I know it's going to bless somebody. So, hey, share this, tune in next week, share with your friends, bring them. And by the way, if you are not a high D on the disc, like maybe you do have that gift of sort of like slow and steady decision making, DM one of us so that
Yeah.
we invite you on and we can have that conversation.
Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah. Who wants to be a guest on the proverbial masterminds where we're